Since 1900, the magnetic North Pole has been moving across the top of the planet, moving in a straight line toward Russia. At first, it was traveling at 25 miles per year, and today it has sped up to 40 miles per year. The magnetic South Pole has been doing the same and has now left the continent of Antarctica as it continues to move toward Australia and Indonesia. Plus, a new magnetic field has popped up over South America in an area called the South Atlantic Anomaly. The polar shifting could be what's causing the ice caps to melt, and that could cause the Thermohaline circulation to shut down, causing an ice age. A record of what happened to the inhabitants of the Earth when this happened before is in the fossil record. What's causing the Earth's poles to shift, causing wild weather? Pulling the magnetic bar of the Great Rift and South Atlantic Anomaly up towards it, every day then when the Atlantic Rift no longer faces the sun. The North Pole is released back down. The U.S. rotates into the giant arc of cold Arctic air, clashing with the normal temperatures of the Atlantic, sending giant arc storms toward UK and Europe. By the same...
See, when the sun is here, it rotates, it pulls the North Pole over towards Siberia.
The U.S. rotates into the giant arc of cold Arctic air, clashing with the normal temperatures of the Atlantic, sending giant arc storms toward UK and Europe. By the same token, when the South Pole is pulled up in the morning, it sends the North Pole down over Russia, and when the Earth rotates east, and the Atlantic Rift no longer faces the sun, the North Pole goes back up. Then the giant arc of frozen Siberian air clashes with the warmer Pacific Ocean, making giant arc storms in Hawaii, the Northwest, and rest of the U.S., sometimes sending the polar vortex toward the south central and midwestern U.S.
Sometimes, Earth doesn't always just have a single magnetic North and South Pole. Evidence suggests that for hundreds to thousands of years at a time, our planet has had 4, 6, and even 8 poles at a time. This is what has happened when the magnetic poles flipped in the past. And when it happens again, it won't be good news for humans. Now you might think that 8 poles must be better than 2, but the reality is that multiple magnetic fields would fight each other. This could weaken Earth's protective magnetic field by up to 90% during a polar flip. Earth's magnetic field is what shields us from harmful space radiation, which can damage cells, cause cancer, and fry electronic circuits and electrical grids. With a weaker field in place, some scientists think this could expose planes to higher levels of radiation, making flights less safe. This could also disrupt the internal compass in many animals, which use the magnetic field for navigation. Even more extreme, it could make certain places on the planet too dangerous to live.
Here's the 1600, 1700, 1800, 1900, the year 2000, and then 2021. Well, it skipped over that. But here's the South Pole migrating. I guess. I don't know. It just seems like that's what they're talking about here is the poles. Let me go up to the top. Yeah. Geomagnetic data. So the North Pole's been here, and the South Pole's been here. And the years are at the bottom here. 16, 17, 1800, 1900, 2000 here. And goes back. This is a story from March 4th, 2018.
Look at this climate map from the University of Maine. It's focused on the Arctic. Here's North America right here. Look at Greenland. Look at all the red, all the warmth that is moving up into Greenland and the North Pole.
Let me zoom in real quick so we can get a better view of this video. There we go. Well, I'm having trouble getting this to cooperate here.
Pole. Meanwhile, look over here. This is Europe. Look at all the blue, the cold temperatures in Europe. Experts believe this is related. They're very concerned now about all of this red, all of this warmth over the North Pole. Call it an Arctic spring. At the North Pole, where the sun hasn't risen since September, the weather model suggests the temperature soared above freezing last weekend. Just 400 miles away in Greenland, at the world's northernmost weather station, the high temperature last Sunday, a balmy 43 degrees, 50 degrees warmer than normal. It's usually minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit this time of year, and it has climate scientists like Sinead Farrell stunned.
This has opened a huge hole in the ice, equivalent to the size of Vermont and New Hampshire combined.
The ice hole is that big?
It is, yes. Ice has been blown away from the coast of Greenland, exposing the open ocean to the polar atmosphere at this time of the year. That's quite unusual.
So why is the North Pole warming while Europe is freezing? It turns out a weather system swept in from the south, bringing warm air to the north and pushing cold Arctic air, known as the Polar Vortex, into Europe. Rare snowfall crippling Rome this week, but giving the penguins at the Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland a taste of home. Jason Box has been studying the Arctic ice pack for more than a decade. Normally, vast swaths of the Arctic are covered during winter when it's coldest and darkest. Not this year. We talked to him via Skype from Denmark.
I've never seen that happen before. And it's releasing even more heat into the atmosphere. So the temperatures in the Arctic right now are like 20 Celsius, about 40 Fahrenheit warmer than average.
The concern now that the summer ice pack will be much thinner, exposing more ocean to the 24-hour sun, warming the ocean even further.
There's a possibility that we may see a very, very open Arctic Ocean in the summertime in our lifetimes. This is what our best models predict right now.
A cycle, say experts, that is endangering polar bears and seals and could devastate coastal cities within decades.
We expect that to increase. By the end of the century, we could easily see on the U.S. East Coast an additional 3 feet of sea level rise.
The ice may return to the North Pole in the coming weeks, but scientists believe it will be thinner and more broken apart over the summer, and with less ice, the waters will warm even further, warming the entire planet. It's a cycle that they believe that we're in right now.
And this is from today.
People are under winter weather alerts. From all-out whiteouts to nasty wipeouts. 40 vehicles snarled in Wisconsin. And this nearly fatal miss in Iowa. Treacherous conditions are blasting across the country. Cars are mangled in Minnesota.
Look, they're pushing him.
Police pushing commuters in Utah.
I've been stuck a couple times, but never for this long.
From Northern California to North Dakota, many are still digging out after epic snowfall.
This is probably the worst we ever had.
Snow in Seattle also hit a record. More than 6 inches Friday and even more today. Streets have turned into slopes. Landmarks are now landscaped with powder.
Doesn't happen ever, really, so it's like taking it in while we have it.
With this epic snow and ice on the move, some flights have been grounded, while this small plane in Indiana couldn't stay on the runway.
It is snowing in Maui.
After snow in Maui, yes, Maui, the real winter whiteout is headed east, and tonight it's packing a punch. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
Take a look. This is the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and we are talking about heavy snow, really roads that are tangled and snarled, lots of accidents, and this is coming its way for over 100 million folks, stretching from the Dakotas and also Iowa, across to Chicago, up into the Northeast and New England. We've got 100 million people under winter weather advisories, watches, and storm warnings. Heavy rain to the south, snow to the north. Here's how it times out. We start this afternoon. Snow and sleet rapidly heading east. Heavy rain from Ohio back into Arkansas. Then we get into
Uh-oh. Froze up on me. Okay, we'll go to the next one.
World magnetic north is moving. Aviators know it has always moved, but not like this. It's just skipping along. It's on the move about 40 miles a year now along the polar cap toward Russia. It's a natural, unstoppable occurrence, but because of it, some airport runways, calibrated by compass, are now 3 or 4 degrees off. At Tampa International in Florida, they're going to repaint the numbers on the runway and redesignate them because the dead center top is on the move in a big way.
Hard as it may be to believe, the magnetic pole is moving. Hard as it may be to believe, the magnetic pole is moving. Enough so that every 5 years, its position has to be updated.
Even with chains on, we're doing 10 miles an hour.
In Seattle, 7 inches of snow in just 2 days. Not much to some, but more snow than the city usually gets in an entire year. The iconic Space Needle, spectacular in the snow, but back on the ground, everything ground to a halt. At SeaTac Airport, de-icing barely made a dent, as storms delayed more than 300 flights, canceling 40 others.
We had to sit on the tarmac for 2 hours.
Travel so treacherous, former First Lady Michelle Obama rescheduled her Portland book tour, tweeting, "My biggest priority is making sure everyone stays safe." Tense week as the storm gripped the Sierras too.
We're leaving.
Crews rescued 120 visitors and staff from Kings Canyon National Park after more than 7 feet of snow cut off access to local roads. Back in Seattle at Pike Place Market, the famed fish tossers trading salmon for snowballs as locals took advantage of streets turned ski runs.
It feels like powdered sugar.
A city making the most of a historic snowfall. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.